having some technical difficulties for a minute with Facebook trying to go live. How is everyone doing today? I hope everyone is fine. I've been working a lot with corporate America, and like this time of the year, October, is like budget time. Hey, let me see who this. You figure out how to work this still. I don't even know how to see who on here, but I'll figure it out eventually. Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to see. Oh, I see who's on here. Somebody gonna have to give me some Facebook live tutorial because I can't see. But anyhow, what I want to talk about today is, knowing your worth when it comes to your employer. And what brought this to my mind is that in October we do a lot of budgeting and preparing for like the next year. And so while doing budgeting, we were discussing like the benefits and compensation and things like that related to working if you're a working individual. And a lot of times, a person can work a lot, and every year or whatever, you looking for some kind of raise. Some companies do raises annually, others may do them, let's say you just started working, they say, okay, you'll get an increase after 3 or 4 months or something along that line, or maybe they do them twice a year. But the truth of the matter is, you don't necessarily have to wait for a raise. You can ask for a raise anytime, but if you're going to be asking for a raise, make sure you got your ducks in a row. Make sure you've been working hard, maybe even doing a little extra work, so you can show your value when it comes to asking for what you want. Like, I've been employed at different places where we may have gotten a raise 6 months in, and then you get an annual raise based off your performance. But for example, I work for this one company where I was busting my tail. I was putting in extra hours voluntarily. I was putting in extra hours. I was also volunteering at different events that represented the company I was working for on my own personal time. And of course, that make the company look good or whatnot when we could support other causes. But when it came time for my review, I got an outstanding review. If the scale was like 1 to 5, and I got like a 4.5 or something like that. And basically, I was told that I can't get anything over. Most people don't get a 5, so I basically got the highest that I could get, which I was all right. I was cool with it. But then when it came time for the increases and getting a review for my performance for the year, to me, I did a wonderful job. And to other people, I did a wonderful job. I would say getting recognized by different managers within an organization, or even people outside of the organization acknowledging you for your work, would be considered doing outstanding. So I would say I got at least 10 awards that particular year. And so when we got our notification of what our raises would be for the following year, it was probably, my raise was probably like 2.5%, maybe 3%. And I'm like, that's not what I expected, because I'm used to like a job that I had before where I was getting raises and bonuses on a more frequent basis. So a 2% raise, I was like, 2.5%, 3%, whatever it was. I was not too thrilled about it. I mean, I'm grateful for any kind of increase, but I wasn't too thrilled about it because I felt I'd worked my tail off. And yes, I had everything, all my ducks in a row to show them, yep, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And my manager was like, oh yeah, that was awesome, yada, yada, yada. This is what your raise is going to be. Now, let me break this down. They basically gave me what is considered like a cost of living increase. They gave me what people on Social Security that's not working would get to keep up with how much it costs to live in their wherever they live at. So a cost of living increase. And I was actually insulted because I knew I did more than enough, and I had worked extra hard, even more so than my coworkers. So I felt I should have gotten probably twice as much percentage-wise as far as the increase. But because I was not satisfied, I felt, I went back to my manager and I just asked. I said, hey, I did this, and this. I would like to have this much of an increase. I mean, I said it correctly and respectably. And guess what? She gave me what I asked for, exactly what I asked for. She said, well, how much money would you like to be making? And I told her exactly what I wanted, and I got it. And I guess it was easy for her to give it to me, because later on, and this is a lesson I learned later, that I should have researched the market first to see what my job type was getting paid elsewhere. So at the time, before I asked for the raise, I was actually getting paid less than the average for my area or whatever. Less than average for my area. So they basically already had the wiggle room, and when I asked for the amount, it was easy for them to give it to me, because that was the average amount anyway that was being paid for that particular job. And when I figured that out, I was like, oh man, I basically screwed myself. I mean, but you live and you learn. So anyhow, from that point on, I learned that I need to do my research before I go asking for stuff. And I did. And most companies, they got the money. They may not necessarily want to give it, but when you look at how I've worked at corporations where the executives, for example, may get like a country club membership, tickets to their favorite sports teams, and they get, car allowances and all kinds of goodies. Their bonuses may equal what would be a house a brand new house for me or something like that. That's what their bonuses look like. So with that being said, I'm like, oh, the sky's the limit. I need to ask for everything. I need to ask for everything. If I want it, I'm going to ask for it. And from then on, when I start looking at it, I stop limiting myself. Like, well, maybe I should only ask for this much because of this. I don't do that no more. I ask for, exactly what I want that will make me stay there much longer. Because when you look at it, typically, if you take into consideration benefits that you receive from a job, like your health, medical, dental, maybe 401k, I look at that as compensation as well, because all jobs don't offer that. And what I notice is your medical premiums or whatnot may go up each year. But if your medical premiums are going up more than what you're getting paid to go up, you need to reassess your value and renegotiate what you're getting paid. Because if you get a raise and then the next year your benefits increase, well, your benefits may increase more than your raise, and then you're not really getting it's not really like you're getting a raise, because now you're pushed back because you got to pay more in, let's say, your medical premiums or whatever. So, you have to take all of that kind of stuff into account. Or even when you are in the process of searching for a job, if you're looking for employment and you get offered a job, you want to thoroughly check their benefits. Ask them, what does their company match? How much would the premiums of your insurance be per paycheck? So you can calculate that into how much money you need to not only not live paycheck to paycheck, but to have some extra after after you pay your bills and put away from savings. So you need to, take into consideration how much your benefits are going to cost when they're deducted from your pay. It'll be nice to have low cost and benefits, but they tend to go up each year. So when it comes to getting your raises and your reviews and stuff, take that into consideration as well. Especially if they start cutting back on what they're giving you. For example, let's say your company was given, let's say, 6% of a company match towards, let's say, a 401k, and then they decided to give a 4% match for whatever reason. well, maybe you will want to consider asking for that 2% difference in an increase in addition to a cost of living increase. I mean, there's nothing wrong with asking. What's the worst they can say? No? Don't be afraid of no, because closed mouths don't get fed. So if you don't open your mouth and say something, you can't expect to get it. Case in point, we were at one company I worked for, we were getting a bonus to our 401k, and then there were some changes in the company, and they decided to take away the bonus, and instead of matching at 4%, they were matching at 6%, which 6% is all right as a company match. But when my bonus was equal to, let's say, 4% of what my salary was, that was the loss. So when it comes review time, I'm going to be asking to include what would have been equivalent to what's being lost. So you have to take a lot of things into consideration when you want to go with negotiating your pay and figuring out what your worth is in regards to working. Because you don't want to just survive. You want to thrive. You want to excel so that you can provide for yourself and your family in those just-in-case situations. Anyhow, the point of this broadcast is to tell you, ask, and don't be afraid to ask. Just have your ducks in a row, because now is the time to start looking into, what you need, what you want, and prepare for next year. You don't wait to January. You get all that together now. Anyhow, I hope everyone has a wonderful day. See you next time.